Are you looking for a super easy one-row repeat pattern for blankets that just uses basic double crochet stitches, features super straight edges, and also has an optional border? This tutorial is for you. Hi, it's Krista at The Secret Yarnery. Today we are making this gorgeous diagonal granny stitch blanket. I used just regular size 4 worsted weight acrylic for mine. This is my Miami Vice inspired color palette. I love it. It is so fun. And for my stripes, I used 3 colors, but then every 2 colors, I put in 2 rows of white. So that's a nice, easy way of kind of mixing up your stripes and not making it look too repetitive, but it is super repetitive. So fun and easy to do. Plus, it has this awesome border. It is super dense and firm and thick and strong. So it'll help your blanket keep its shape. And it's only 2 rounds, so you can get that done and have a totally finished blanket. The finished size of my blanket is 42 inches wide by 48 inches tall, but you could customize yours and make yours any size you like. I show you how to do that in the pattern. So I used 3 main colors plus white for my blanket and gray for my trim for my edge. I used 800 grams for the center of my blanket, my 4 different colors, different amounts depending on the color. And for the edge, I used about 70 grams of gray. If you'd like help planning out your stripes, this easy stripe planner is available as part of the written pattern on my website, secretyarnery.com. And it really just helps you figure out what's going to look great. So you can see how I planned my stripes. And then also you have a few opportunities to plan out your own stripes. Plus you can print it multiple times. I used a 6.5 millimeter crochet hook. You'll also need a couple stitch markers, 1 green one for go and red if you have. I don't have red, so I'm using purple. So 1 for go, 1 and 2 for stop. That'll just help you with your decreasing as we build our blanket and finish it off. And you'll also need a pair of scissors and a needle for sewing in your ends. Here are the timestamps. You can jump back into where you left off, and let's get started. To make your diagonal granny stitch blanket super easy for beginners, we're going to start by making a slip knot any which way you normally do, shrinking that down and popping it onto your hook, and chaining 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now we're going to slip stitch into that very first stitch we made, or the very first chain, right there, right on top of our slip knot. We're going to form a ring. So pop your hook into that stitch. It doesn't matter where. Lay your tail along with your ring so your tail is following. You make a little U shape underneath your hook. Just hold that open with your finger and thumb and slip stitch to form a ring and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. So that counts as our first double crochet. And now into the center of the ring, right where we're holding it open, we're going to make 4 double crochets into the ring, and we're going to go over our tail. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. So that counts as a stitch for this pattern. Turn your work, and now we're going to go into this space right after that stitch, or in between those first stitches. So just separate that first stitch, and we're going to make that into a space. So into this space, we're going to do 3 double crochets. Just into that space between those stitches. Got some booger on my yarn. There we go. So there's our 3 double crochets. And now we're going to jump over and do the same thing at the end of the row into this space, except we're going to do 4 double crochets. We're going to end our row with 4 double crochets into the space. If you'd like to follow along with a written pattern, all of my patterns are available on my website, secretyarnery.com, and all of my patterns are written in plain English, just like I was sitting there right beside you. And 4. So that finishes our second row, and we're going to chain 3. We'll always chain 3 to start. So 1, 2, 3. Turn your work, and now into this space, we're going to do our 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Into this space along the middle of our row, 3 double crochets. And into the last space, right there, we're going to do 4 double crochets to finish. So we're going to finish each row with 4 double crochets while we're growing our blanket. So there is our 4 double crochets to finish. Chain 3 and turn your work. And we're going to start with 3 double crochets into that space. So 3 double crochets into the space. And 3 double crochets into each space along our row. And each row we're going to be adding 1 space along the center of our row. That's how our blanket is going to grow. So 3 double crochets into each space along our row until we get to the end. If I'm going too fast or too slow, you can speed me up or slow me down with that gear on the video right there. And now into the last space, we always finish with our 4 double crochets. So 4 double crochets into that last space. And for my pattern, I'm going to be doing my 4 rows of each color. So I'm going to change colors right here. So to change colors, we're just not going to finish this last stitch. So we're going to start that double crochet. I'm going to take off 2 loops. We're going to leave the last 2 loops on your hook. And go ahead and cut your yarn. Grab your next color of yarn. You want about a 4-inch loop. Put that loop on your hook. Pinch those tails along the back of your work. Bring your yarn through. Drop both of your tails. So now we're holding 2 tails along the back of your work. And we're just going to continue with our new color. So chaining 3, 1, 2, 3, turning your work into that very first space right after that stitch, 3 double crochets to start. And 3 double crochets into each space all the way along our row. And each row there's going to be 1 more space. So each space gets 3 double crochets, except for the last space. The last space at the end of each row gets 4 double crochets. And that's it for the pattern. Here's my last 3 double crochets into the spaces along this middle, along the side, and into that last space, that's our 4 double crochets to finish. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're just going to repeat that as we grow our blanket until the edge, or either side, it's going to be the same measurement on each side, until the side is the width you want the narrowest side of your blanket to be. So you can pause the video, just keep working along, row after row, doing a chain 3 and 3 double crochets into that first, let me show you, 3 double crochets into that first space to start, 3 double crochets into each space along the middle of our row, and 4 double crochets to finish. So pause the video, keep working back and forth, and I'll meet you when one side of your blanket is the narrowest side that you want it to be, or the measurement of the narrowest side of your blanket. When you have done enough rows where the one side of your blanket is the width or close to the width of the narrow side of your blanket, so like the bottom edge of your blanket, we are ready to do something a little bit different. So with my stripes, I started with 2 sets of color and then a white, 2 sets of color and a white. So I'm going to change on a white. So white is going to be the corner where I change. So I'm just going to get to that over here. So I'm ready to change. I'm going to do 1 row of white, and at the end of that row, we're going to do something different. So I'm just going to change my color, and I'm going to do 1 row of white all the way along. I'll meet you at the end right here. So I finished that row of white, and I'm just at the end of my row. And we're going to finish it the same way we always do. So 4 double crochets into that space. And now we're going to do something different. We're going to decrease on the one side. You can decrease on both sides, and that is going to end up with a square blanket. I want my blanket to be rectangular, so I'm only going to decrease on one side. So I'm going to pop a stitch marker just around one of these stitches just to mark that this is the side where I'm doing something different. So to do a decrease, or when we get to this end of our blanket, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn your work. So far it's the same. And now we're going to skip this whole set of stitches, and we're going to make our set of 3 double crochets into this space. So just wrap your yarn and 3 double crochets into the real space, not the space right by where we normally go in. So jump over all those stitches and 3 double crochets into the first real space. Just like that. We can put that stitch marker in that chain space just to mark where we're going to be doing something different. If you have a red stitch marker, I love to use a red stitch marker on this side just because red means stop. So decreasing. So now go all the way back along this side, and the other end, if you're doing rectangular, you're going to do the exact same thing as we always have been. So this side is going to be the same. We're just going to do our 4 double crochets into this last space and come back just the normal way. We're going to be growing on this one side. If you have 2 stitch markers, you could put a grow or a green stitch marker in to this side and the red one on this side, so you know where to stop and you know where to grow. So now just keep working on your blanket, doing a grow on the one side and a decrease or a stop on the other. Or if you want square, you could just do the same stitch, this decrease on both sides, and you'll end up with a square blanket. So pause the video. I'll meet you when you get back to this side right here, and I'll show you how to decrease again as it grows. So there's this side that I'm just doing regular. I'm just doing our 4 double crochets into that last space we make at the end of the row. And then the side with my stop stitch marker, my decrease stitch marker, when I get to it, that's when we're going to be doing something different. So I'm working into the last real space with 3 double crochets. So the space between sets of 3 stitches or in between those sets of stitches, the granny stitches. So 3 double crochets into the last real space. And then into the space over here at the end, I'm just going to do 1 double crochet into this space. So 1 double crochet into the space, chain 3, turn your work, and our 3 double crochets go into this first real space. So we're getting a straight edge along two sides here where our decrease is. And I'm going to keep going until I get to my next set of white stitches. So I'm going to go for my 2 more colors, so 8 rows, and then in the middle of my next set of white, I'm going to do decreasing on both sides. So keep working along until you've done as many rows as you want. It doesn't matter. This is just going to be the amount on top of the square to make it into a rectangle. So I'm going to keep going for 2 more color changes, and then in the next set of white is where I'm going to start decreasing on both sides. So pause the video and keep working along, and I'll meet you when you want to decrease on 2 sides, or if you want to decrease on 2 sides from the beginning and not make it into a rectangle, jump ahead and I'll show you how to do it. So there is my 8 rows of color, and I'm on my first row of white. At the end, we're doing our stop, our decrease on this side. So I'm going to do the same thing, a decrease on the side, and then work all the way back to this end over here. So now back to this side, our go side where we've been increasing. We're just going to pop out our go stitch marker and put in our decrease stitch marker, or our stop. Just in case, you don't have to use stitch markers at all, but if you've been looking back and being like, oh, what am I supposed to do? And that stitch marker has been helping you, pop the same one in to the other side, the same color. Just so in your mind, you know you're decreasing, everything's going to be okay. So to do our decrease, we're doing just the same thing. So we're going to put our last 3 double crochets into that space between the shells. Right there is our last 3 double crochets. And now we're going to make 1 double crochet into that chain space. 1 double crochet. So that's our new finish. And chain 3. Turn your work. And your first 3 double crochets are going to go right into this first space. So we're not doing anything at the edge, we're jumping over for the rest of the pattern. Both sides, our first 3 double crochets are going into that first space. So it'll look like that along your side. I'm changing colors, so I'll show you what it looks like if you're changing colors, because it'll look a little bit different. So before you do that last double crochet, or you can start the last double crochet, I should say, just leave those last 2 loops on your hook. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later, and grab your next color. And we're just going to finish our double crochet with that new colored yarn, dropping our tail, chaining 3, turning your work, and our first set of 3 go into that first space in between the sets. So our first set of 3 go right here. So that's how we're going to end every single row, both sides. We're going to be doing the same thing. You can pop your stop stitch marker up a little closer so you can see it, or you can notice it when you get to the edge. Just remind yourself that you're doing that different end for each row now. And now you can just keep going until it gets very, very small at the top. When your blanket is getting small, getting close to this tip of your blanket, just keep going like we normally do. We don't have to do anything different. So we're ending with a double crochet and a chain 3, turning your work. And same thing, 3 double crochets in between each of these sets, all the way until there's only going to be 1 left. ending with our double crochet, chaining 3, turning your work, and 3 double crochets just into that center space. Double crochet into that last space. When you get to the corner or the tip of your blanket, we've done our last double crochet into that last space, and there's nowhere to turn to come back. We're going to do a chain 2. And we are going to turn our work. And we're going to slip stitch into this space. So we're going to slip stitch, chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. Pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. So that gives a little corner of our blanket up here. Sew in your tails. So now we've sewn in all those tails, and you can just leave it like this, or you could add a super simple 2-round border. So let's just add that together if you like. If not, it also has straight edges just like this. To start your flat and fabulous border, just insert your hook into any corner space and pop a loop of your border color yarn on your hook. Bring it through, slip stitch with both strands to join. Drop your tail just holding along that top edge of your work and chain 2. 1 and 2. Now we're going to make 2 double crochets into that same space. Rotate your work so we can work along our edge of our blanket. And now each space is going to get 3 double crochets. So it's super easy. We're just doing 3s the whole way around. So 3 double crochets into each space. Even if it's a small space, every single space gets 3 double crochets. Just like that. So pause the video, keep working along the edge of your blanket, and I'll meet you when we get to our first corner right over here. When you reach your corner, we're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets all into that same corner space. So 3 double crochets. Chain 2. Slide those stitches back to give yourself some more room, and 3 more double crochets into that same space. Just like that. And now 3 double crochets into each space along the side. Even these small spaces, every space gets 3 double crochets along the sides. And when you get to your corners, 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets all into the corner space. So pause the video, keep working all the way around, and I'll meet you when you get right back over here where we began. When you reach back to where we began, just slide those first stitches ahead a little bit to give yourself some more room in that corner. And we're going to make 3 double crochets into that same corner space. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2. Now we're going to slip stitch into the top of that chain to join. We want 2 strands of the chain on the top of our hook. So slip stitch to join. And now we're going to slip stitch into this next stitch, or this next back loop right here. We're going to slip stitch into the back loops only, all the way along our edge. So the first one is right here. So slip stitch into that back loop, and into each back loop, going all the way around. So just work ahead a little bit, and then you can see what it looks like. So it'll look like that, and it just helps pull together that edge with a really nice braided finish along the edge. So pause the video, keep working all the way along, slip stitching into each back loop all the way along, and I'll meet you when we get to our first corner right over here. When you reach that chain area, just keep working into those back loops, doing your slip stitch, and into the first chain, going into the back loop. Chain 1, and into the second chain, we're going to go into that back loop as well. So the only thing we do different in the corners is we add that chain 1 in the middle of those chains there. And now just keep working along, 1 slip stitch into each back loop all the way around. Corners are back loop only slip stitch, chain 1, and back loop only slip stitch. So that's what you're going to do when you reach your corners. Keep working all the way around, and I'll meet you when you get right back over here where we began. When you get to that corner where we started, we're just going to do the same back loop onlys into our chain. So the first chain, back loop only, chaining 1, and back loop only of the second chain. A little slip stitch. Just like that. And now we're going to join with an invisible join. You can do a slip stitch and chain 1, but invisible join is super easy. So just cut your yarn before we join, so just after that slip stitch, and pull your yarn up and through. Thread your tail into your needle. And now I'm going to put my needle underneath the first real slip stitch. Right there. The blunt end of your needle first. And keep an eye where it's coming from. We want to keep track of that stitch where it came from. And we want to pop our needle back down into that same stitch, right back down. Like that. And now shrink it up, just like that, so it looks like one of those stitches. See? How great is that? And your tail is already threaded, so just go ahead and sew it in. Be careful when you are sewing it in, you don't pull too tight, because you can make that into a little pucker. We don't want to do that. So just gently sew in both your tails, and you're finished. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial as much as I did. I'm waiting for you in that video up there, and stay hooked.